Hey everybody, it's Kristyn B and Ryan podcast. It's your girl Kristyn.
Hi, it's Ryan.
And we are finally back, man. We took a little bit of a hiatus here. So
yeah, we're gonna say a little bit.
Yes.
A short amount of time, a little break.
Yeah. It is November 27th, 2020. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to you all. Hope you guys had a good one,
Yeah,
a
happy
safe one.
Happy Black Friday.
Yes, and happy Black Friday today.
Support Black businesses.
Support Black businesses, local businesses, women-owned businesses.
Yeah,
But especially local and especially Black.
And small businesses,
and
please.
Small businesses.
I know we ain't gonna have all the deals or whatnot, but still,
some are having deals.
True.
But either way, also tomorrow is Small Business Saturday, so support small businesses tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
And for Cyber Monday, you got all these days that you can support local, support Black businesses, things like that. There's
Increase
a lot.
the efforts in those days.
Yes, there's a lot out here that you can support. So a lot of people doing their thing. So shout out to you guys, fellow small businesses.
Yes.
Fellow Black businesses. Yeah, y'all doing it out here. So, but anyway, so today we are finishing our series on the power of now.
Oh yes.
Finally.
Yeah.
This is chapter 10, the meaning of surrender. So that's what we're gonna talk about today, and we're gonna just wrap this whole thing up. So, you good over there?
Yeah, I'm straight. I'm just adjusting this.
Oh,
we in a new spot, or a new spot in the house.
Yeah, we moved from the kitchen to the living room now.
Yeah, so we gotta just kind of adjust a little bit. It's a little awkward for me.
Yeah. So I was just making sure your mic is good.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Just adjust.
All right. So yeah, let's jump into this chapter. It is all about surrender. What did you think?
I think that his meaning of surrender, or his definition of surrender, is not interesting. I wouldn't say interesting. I would say eye-opening in some ways, because I'm sure everybody, or a lot of people's idea of surrender is to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what he's saying isn't necessarily to give up. It's just to just come to terms of what happened and what the current situation is, and then go from there.
So then that makes me wonder so since you found his definition of surrender as eye-opening, what was your definition of surrender prior to reading this book or reading this chapter then?
It was almost in the way of giving up, because usually when people surrender, or when surrender is in that context, is used to give up. You have to, like, even when it comes to like stuff, like you have to surrender certain things over. So you giving up this object or this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you have to surrender yourself to a thing, like the police, or surrender yourself to the opposition or something like that. Like,
right, so it's giving, like, you're saying, like, when you surrender, you're just giving that thing up, or you're just like, oh, like, this is just it, this is where my life is, this is just, I just give up.
It feels sacrificial.
Yeah. Okay. But here he's saying that surrender is not sacrificial. It is not meaning you just throw everything away. You're just like, this is just what it is, and this is like, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Or I'm giving up myself, or I'm giving up my possessions, or I'm giving up, whatever.
Right.
So that is not what he's saying here. And he actually makes that very clear, actually, through.
Said on the bottom of the page, actually, on the first page.
Mm-hmm.
On 205, he says, surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to rather than opposing the flow of life. It's just yielding. It's not necessarily giving up on life. It's not just saying forget it and just whatever happens and just kind of just let the wind take you wherever. It's not like that. It's just yielding. It's like, okay, this happened. What next? Like, what is it that I do that can steer the outcome that I want in the direction that I want? Right.
And I think he even more clearly, he talks about surrendered action on page 208. So in that let's see, that second full paragraph, I guess, when he talks about surrendered action, and I actually want to jump to 209 because this explains it nicely here, where he says, in the state of surrender, you see very clearly what needs to be done, and you take action, doing one thing at a time and focusing on one thing at a time. Learn from nature, see how everything gets accomplished and how the miracle of life unfolds without dissatisfaction or unhappiness. That's why Jesus said, look at the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. So meaning, when he says surrender, that doesn't mean don't take action or don't seek change in your life. What he's saying is understanding that this is the situation, accepting the situation, and then taking action from there. Like, so it's the action that you take is coming from a more conscious place or a more aware place than just feeling just like, forget it. This is just my life.
Yeah.
This is just, and it's like, no, this is your life situation.
Right.
Once you come from a place of understanding that and come from a place that is outside of your mind and your ego, then that's when you can take surrendered action.
Right.
And I really like that definition and that term,
action.
surrendered action. I like that.
Yeah. Trying to think of because it's like almost a segue what you were saying into kind of my question, because I found, I don't know if this is contradictory, but if it came off as contradictory to me. On page 206, on the bottom of I guess it's like a continuation of what was on 205, but the last part of that, kind of midway in the page, saying acceptance of what is immediately frees you from mind identification and thus reconnects you with being. And then
resistance is the mind.
Yeah, and then the next paragraph, not the next one, but skip the surrender part and go to, for example,
the last paragraph on
the last paragraph. He was saying, you do not need to accept an undesirable or unpleasant life situation, nor do you need to deceive yourself and say that there's nothing wrong with being stuck in the mud. My question is, do you find the acceptance, like I almost find it contradictory, but I guess I'm just not taking it in the context that he's actually meaning in this.
Okay, I want to read that full paragraph there.
Okay.
So, for example, if you were stuck in the mud somewhere, you wouldn't say, okay, I resign myself to being stuck in the mud. Resignation is not surrender. You don't need to accept an undesirable or unpleasant life situation, nor do you need to deceive yourself and say that there is nothing wrong with being stuck in the mud. No, you recognize fully that you want to get out of it. You then narrow your attention down to the present moment without mentally labeling it in any way. This means that there is no judgment of the now. Therefore, there is no resistance, no emotional negativity. You accept the isness of this moment, then you take action and do all that you can to get out of the mud. Such an action I call positive action. It is far more effective than negative action, which arises out of anger, despair, or frustration. Until you achieve the desired result, you continue to practice surrender by refraining from labeling the now. So you basically feel like, okay, explain again how you think that's contradictory.
So just the fact that he's saying that you don't need to accept an undesirable or unpleasant life situation.
Yeah.
But you have to accept the isness of it.
Yeah, what I'm taking that as is what he's saying is like you don't have to accept it in terms of I'm staying here. Like the resignation part. So you accepting where you are, the life circumstance, the situation. When he's saying accept where you are or what it is like it is what it is. There's no judgment, there's no attachment to it, there's no and there's no resignation with it. There's no pain really associated with it. So we're basically not becoming identified with it.
Okay.
You accept it, you see where it is, you see what your life situation is. And in that awareness, you're like, I don't want to be here. I don't want this to be continue to be my life situation. But until you accept it and you see it, you're not going to be able to change it. So with the acceptance, okay, I hope I'm not being confusing here.
No. You good.
With the acceptance, you fully see what your situation is. And you're like, you're not resisting it. Like, oh, I hate this job. Oh, I hate living where I'm living. Oh, I just can't stand the fact that I am dealing with this person or whatever it is. Like, you accept where it is. And then through that acceptance, you can see where your surrendered action needs to go.
Okay.
So I think to me, that resignation is not surrender is the important piece there. So you're not just giving up. You're not just oh well, this is just how it is.
And just deal with it.
That's resistance, really.
Yeah. Okay. I see. So it's pretty much just more of like the acceptance piece is just more just recognizing that it's there. Yeah,
you accept it without judgment, without labeling, without the pain, the pain connection, like the attachment to it.
Yeah.
Like, this is my life. It's like, no, this is your life situation. This is your life circumstance.
Right.
Okay, I see that. So now where do I go from here? It's like that.
Okay.
And I think his analogy of the fog, I thought that was just such a good analogy.
Yeah, I definitely highlighted that
So
part.
on 207, it's the first full paragraph. He says, let me give you a visual analogy to illustrate the point I'm making. You are walking along a path at night surrounded by a thick fog, but you have a powerful flashlight that cuts through the fog and creates a narrow, clear space in front of you. The fog is your life situation, which includes past and future. The flashlight is your conscious presence. The clear space is the now. So just not being consumed by the fog. It's like, you're in the fog, right? Yeah. But you take the flashlight, that's your awareness, and that space is highlighting is the now. Focus on that. that's where your surrender comes in. Your surrendered action comes in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense, like how he used that. Because it's like you, for instance, you are in like I will say a dark maze. I will keep that kind of analogy going. A dark maze with the fog and all of that.
Yeah.
And then you just walk forward presently until you see the wall, and then you make the adjustment. I guess the wall will be that current life situation. That's because it's like, okay, the past and the future is the fog, so there's always going to be a looming thing. But then when you run into the wall, that's like a current situation that you have to adjust to when it gets there, but not thinking in terms of I'm gonna run into the wall eventually. You just go until you run into it.
That's interesting. I don't look at it like that. I think the wall is all the surrounding stuff. If you take that light off, that's the wall, so to speak. Because now you're consumed and sucked back into past, present. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, so with the light, that illuminates the present. That illuminates your path. So that's it. Like,
okay.
I get what you mean. I guess like, because the obstacle is what's coming up. But I think the true obstacle is the past, present, and not focusing on the present path. I think that's just the obstacle within itself. Not really you're being present and then you run into a wall and then now you got to figure out how to get around the wall. Like, it's more of just illuminate the present, and that's where you stay at. That's it. The moment you turn off that flashlight and you get sucked into everything that's around, the past, present, or it's not the past, present, the past, the future.
Yeah.
That's where the obstacles start happening. Because now you can't see.
Right.
So I don't know. That's how I look at it. But okay. Let's see. Just moving through a little bit. So in practicing all of that, like it was a moment of like, check yourself. Because on 211 on the bottom, he's on the last paragraph. He's like, until you practice surrender, the spiritual dimension is something you read about, talk about, get excited about, write books about, think about, believe in, or don't, as the case may be. It makes no difference. Not until you surrender does it become a living reality in your life. And I was like, welp, because it feels like, what? Why are you making that face?
Now I'm just wondering, because I'm trying to process that.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on what you got from that?
No, I'm just saying it was just a self-check for me. Like, we're reading about it, we're talking about it, like writing about it sometimes or whatever. Believe it.
Yeah.
But are you really practicing every day in your everyday life? It was just a moment for me where I see. It's nothing too deep there. It is deep, but it's just more of like, as we're reading this book, as we're believing in what we're talking about,
right? As
we're having these discussions, are you really living that in your life?
Yeah, I understand, because it's like you can read about how to get rich, but until you do it, you will never get rich.
Right. Yeah. It's all about the action.
Right.
So yeah, it was just a funny moment for me, because I was like, ooh, wait, like, are you really doing this? Like, or are you just talking about it? that was just me a moment. But yeah, what else stood out for you?
On 213.
Oh, a lot stood out for me.
Yeah. Page. So I guess this first paragraph.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the paragraph, talking about no. You're saying when you say no to a person or a situation, let it not come from reaction, but from insight, from a clear realization of what is right or not right for you at that moment. Let it be a non-reactive no, a high-quality no, a no that is free of all negativity and so creates no further suffering. So my question is, how can you say no without feeling all of that? Like, in practice, this is a lot harder to do than just reading about it.
It's a lot harder to do because we're coming from the space of the mind. Because earlier in that chapter, that paragraph, when he says, he says, it is true that only an unconscious person will try to use or manipulate others, but it is equally true that only an unconscious person can be used and manipulated. If you resist or fight unconscious behavior in others, you become unconscious yourself. But surrender doesn't mean that you allow yourself to be used by unconscious people. Not at all. So then he talks about the saying no, whatever. So I feel like when we have a hard time saying no to people, we're coming from an unconscious place. We're coming from the ego place because we're scared to disappoint. We're scared to make somebody else mad. We're scared to, if we're coming from a true conscious place there, it's just like, it wouldn't be any attachment to that or any pain or expectation or labeling to that. It would just be, this doesn't resonate with me. Like,
right.
Like it's not doing anybody any service, you saying yes to something that you want to say no to. True. So I think the high quality no is like, it's not out of spite. It's not out of, it's not with an intention to be mean or with the, I don't know. It's just no negativity there because you're just like, no. Yeah. It doesn't, it wouldn't, because I feel like if you do something, you say yes to something that you really mean to say no to, it's gonna come with a lot of baggage because now you're resenting that person. True. Because you're like, I really didn't want to do this, or I really, don't want to give this to this person, or whatever the case. But yeah, that's fine. I'll go ahead and do it. Yeah. But it's like, it's not coming from a good place. Right.
That makes sense. Okay, I see. Hey, I have nothing.
No. But I feel like that is a very hard thing for a lot of people, including myself. Yeah. It's hard to hold boundaries. And
it is. It's tough.
Because we think of, and I actually put this in the margins of like, we think of, well, I want to be nice. Yeah. Or I don't want to say no. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Or like when people are like, I have too good of a heart to say no. Yeah. And it's like, no, I think that's a coping mechanism you got there. You've been something in your childhood or whatever has conditioned you to not be able to say no. Right. Or feel like if you're not available 24/7 for people, then you're a bad person. Yeah. And it's like, you're not a bad person.
You're a person.
Yeah. It's like, you can't do everything. You can't fulfill every single request in this world. Right. You're going to be a lot's going to be requested of you, but you have to stay true to what actually genuinely feels good to say yes to or to say no to.
So I got a question then. Instead of, I don't know, it's still good to practice the no, but I'm wondering if focusing on the yeses will help with the no's. So And Kreischer, like, I'm thinking like he was talking about a high quality no. What about a high quality yes?
I think that goes hand in hand, honestly. Because when you know, when you are more aware of yourself and you know what you feel good about saying yes to, that'll help you understand what you have to say no to in order to say yes to the things that you really want to say yes to. Because if you're saying yes to things that you don't really want to do,
right,
or that doesn't resonate with you or doesn't fit the lifestyle, I guess, or life circumstance that you're trying to build, then it takes away all the room for you to be able to say yes to things that you're really enthusiastic about.
I got a question about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm wondering, like, you know, certain things can make you feel nervous or uneasy because it's a new thing.
I think, yeah.
So saying yes hesitantly on that, is that a low quality yes because you just not sure about it?
I think there is a complete, and let me know if you agree with this, but I think there is a huge difference in what you feel when you're saying yes to something that is new, but you really want to do it, versus saying yes to something that you don't actually want to do. It's a feeling, for me, it's a feeling in my gut that I get, or like an internal feeling that I get where I'm saying yes because I'm out of guilt. That doesn't feel good whatsoever. Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel good at all. To say yes out of guilt, or yes out of like obligation, or yes out of, something like that, versus saying yeah to something and you're nervous. You're just like, ugh. Like, oh God, this is so new, but I feel so good about it. And I feel like you would feel regretful if you said no, even if you were nervous about it. I think it's just two completely different feelings. And you have to be in tune with that to know that. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, it's like the nervousness and all of that, like it can really get confusing with guilt and stuff too. At least for me, like,
okay.
Like, cause sometimes you'll feel like you're not ready.
Yeah.
For certain things. So then the guilt will kind of creep in because you don't feel, I guess, qualified enough to fulfill the job that you agreed to do, and you don't want to screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I guess is more, I don't know. I guess I'm not sure where I'm kind of going with this completely, but it's like you get nervous about something new because you're inexperienced. So the disappointment that you may feel if you don't, that who you trying to please, I guess, from the bad performance, I'm guessing is where it would, like, the feeling of you don't know if you're gonna perform well in it or not,
Okay, I think I see where you're going with that, but I just think that's because I understand that, like, if an opportunity comes up and you're like, oh man, it's still a difference in an opportunity that comes up and you're like, oh, I really want to do this. I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready though. You gonna get ready. Like, if an opportunity came up and you're like, if something came up for you and you're just like, oh, like, let's say, I can't even think of an example right now. But like, some opportunity comes up and you're just like, oh, it's an automatic yes in your mind. You're just like, oh, I really want to do that.
Uh-huh.
And you're just like, oh, but I don't know if I'm ready. You gonna look and be like, okay, I got this many days to figure out how to get this, or I gotta get this together. Let me just pull this out.
Right.
Versus an opportunity that comes up and you're like, I don't know. Like, and you're like, oh, I should do this because it's in my line of work and it feels like a good opportunity. Like, who would pass this up? I should do it. I'm not really prepared for it, but I'm gonna do. I just need to say yes because I feel stupid not doing it.
Yeah.
Or I feel.
You know what?
I don't know
This reminds me of Dave Chappelle, actually.
Oh, his situation with Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with Netflix and Comedy Central.
Or Comedy Central, not with Netflix. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean,
he doesn't have issue with
both.
Netflix. He doesn't have issue with Netflix. He has issue with
Comedy
Central. And
I think
that's why I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, I think both have, like, both networks, I would say, because Netflix is definitely a network now.
Yeah.
But it really plays, I guess it plays into this type of idea about the yes, the quality yes or the no. Because with Comedy Central, he went in it, and I don't know how he felt at the time when he signed and all of that stuff, but just thinking about what happened and all that transpired, and then he left because of all of the stuff that he's had to deal with.
Yeah.
It makes it feels like that's where the I guess I don't know if it was guilt or not, but it's just like the negativity of that came in, because it was like, I don't know if he questioned, like, I don't know if I should do this or not, and did it anyway. He does
mention that. He you guys also, so side note, we're talking about Dave Chappelle's it's like an 18-minute piece he posted it on Instagram. It's called Unforgiven. So go check that out for sure. But so he does mention that before he signed the contract for the show, he needed people to read it for him, because he's like, what does this actually mean?
Yeah.
These certain terms in here, what does that mean? And basically what it meant was that they're taking ownership of his name, of his likeness, and they can use it however they need to or want to without getting permission from him, without paying him. They own that
forever.
Like, yeah. So he said that back then he was 28 years old.
Yeah.
A baby on the way.
Right.
Rent due. He just needed the money. So he went with it.
Yeah.
Well, so I feel like there may have been some hesitation there in like, okay, this contract ain't really looking all that great, but I need this money.
Right.
And that's how a lot of, even music artists get trapped in that of like, man, this is more money than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very predatory.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there was some hesitation. Now of course we're not there. We weren't him.
Right.
We don't know what he was feeling truly all in that moment. He could have been excited. It could have felt like this was the right move, or he could have been feeling like, I don't know. But because the way he described it during the special, he was saying like there was some hesitation there. There was definitely some questions there, but he just was in a desperate place of like, I'm going for it because this could be my big break.
Right.
So
I guess that can be where you saying the difference of like the nervousness of a new opportunity that you are excited about versus the hesitation because it don't feel right.
Something don't feel right. Right.
Okay.
So I think, I think many people can attest to that if you really, really think about opportunities or questions that you've been asked or something that you've been asked to do, and you feel like, oh man, I really want to do this, but I am nervous as heck to do this because I've never done this before. I don't know what this is going to look like, but something is pressing me to move forward with this, versus something you're doing and you're like, something don't feel all the way right about this.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it anyway because I feel like I should, or I need to, or I'm gonna feel guilty if I don't.
I got an idea. Not an idea. I guess I got a situation that I've dealt with. Because it makes sense now. Because when I had my last job, I felt like that when I accepted that job.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm like, it felt like everything that I hated and did not want to do, that's what I had to do.
Yeah. It was a call center job,
yeah.
guys.
And then I took it because just like how Dave Chappelle would have felt, he's in a desperate time. It was like, everything is pressing financially to go for it.
Everybody's like, you'll get your foot in the door.
Yeah, it's like, it's a way in.
Just go ahead and do it. You need the money. You need all this. And
hated the job.
Hated it. Yeah.
Just like I thought I would.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess that makes sense now. Because now, no way.
Right. Right.
That's a quality no right there.
Yeah, that's a quality no. I think a quality no feels right. It feels right. Like, no, it would feel wrong to say yes to that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's a good way to kind of going about it. Like, do you feel right saying yes?
Right.
And if you don't, then say no. That's where the quality comes in at.
And then if you're on edge, what is pressing you to say yes to this even though you want to say no? And I bet you it's going to be, I feel guilty if I don't say yes. Or I don't want them to get mad at me, so I'm going to say yes. Or I don't have another option. So
would a financial situation be enough reason to say yes?
I think it really depends. It depends on the person, depends on the circumstance. It depends.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's probably opportunities that may come up. Like, let's say somebody is down and out. They are a struggling painter. I don't know. That just popped in my head.
Yeah.
So they are a painter who's trying to just get their work out. They are busting their butt, just trying to make ends meet and all that stuff. And they're just like, everybody is around them like, you need to just go get a job. Whatever job it is.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Get whatever job.
Right.
Why it's funny is because we know this struggle.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, just get whatever. And it's like, the person is like, I know I'm struggling, but I don't feel right saying yes to any job. It just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Somehow I'm making things go. I think this is very personal right now.
Yep.
Because the life of business ownership and doing that full time. So we know all about this. So, but I'm just using the outside example here. But yeah, so they are just like, they don't feel right saying yes. But let's say a job does come around and they're like, this feels good to me because this schedule works. The job I'm doing won't necessarily be my passion directly, but I'll be okay with doing that job. And everything kind of lines up to feel like, okay, this feels like the right opportunity. Not just any job. I'm not just gonna run out and get McDonald's or go work at whatever because that don't work for me. It's not worth it for me. But this, I can do this and make it work with my schedule or whatever the case. And I feel like when it's a high quality yes, I feel like things will start lining up. The universe will start lining some things up for you. When you become more in tune with what you want to say yes to, what you want to say no to. And when you start saying yes and saying no to those things, things will start lining up for you. I really truly believe that.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking like, so when it comes to just taking any job,
yeah,
I guess this is where surrender can come in at. Like, cause I'm wondering like, were you at a place where you understand that is like the financial situation isn't good. Mm-hmm. So given that this is what it is, I have to find a job just to get some income. With that mentality or that train of thought, would that be a high quality yes? Because it's more of coming from a surrendered state. Because,
okay, wait. So you're saying like coming from a place of like, oh man, like I need money right now. Like, because I've used up all other options. I need something. You're saying that kind of surrender of like,
yeah, and in a way where it's like, okay, it's like you've resisted the necessity to get a W-2 job that you don't want.
Okay.
But then after a while, you just surrender to the situation of there's no money coming in. I need to, at this point, it's just I just need to focus on just getting some income.
Yeah.
And then you take the any job because it's about the money. It's like there's a purpose.
But here's the thing though. I think when you get to that place, it is an empowering yes, because it won't just be any job. You're not coming from a place of desperation. You're not coming from a place of resistance of like, oh, I just need money. Like, yeah, it's more of like, whew, look, this situation, I've gotten here. Like I've done everything I can on my own. I have whatever the case, whatever their situation is. Yeah. And they're like, my next move is to focus on income. And so I think, again, like I was saying, I think things will start aligning. Opportunities that match what you want will start presenting themselves. Oh, okay. And you'll be able to be, you'll be in a place of deciphering from the opportunities that you want and the opportunities that you don't want that won't serve you in the end. Because because coming from that mental place of like, I'll just take whatever job, whatever, what are you giving up for that? There's going to be some kind of like sacrifice for that. Right. And I'm not saying that there's going to be sacrifice, period. Regardless. You're going to have to, balance some things out, whatever. But it's like, when you come from a place of surrender, I think you'll be able to more clearly see what it is that you need, what it is that you want, and where you want it to go. And then you'll be okay with letting certain things go in order to get what it is that you need right now. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So I think just coming from that place is so much different than I just need to go get whatever job. Right. Okay. I'm just going to do whatever, because in the end, sure, you'll be making money, but you're going to resent that decision every single day, and you're going to be miserable on that job every single day. True. That's the American way though, right? For the most part. We gotta hate our job. If we're not hating our job and not hating our life, then what is wrong with you, right? It's well, that's a whole nother. I don't know if it's the American way. I think it's the human way. The human way, yes, to be insane, but I think I have not lived long term in another country, so I can't speak for other places, but I'm saying here, capitalism and all that is such, and labor is such a high demand, and the way our system has been set up, from education through to the job force, it's like work. You just do whatever you got to do, and you just work. Don't rest. Don't, all that stuff. Like people want to talk about. Oh my God, this is leading to a whole nother conversation. But people are good at talking about follow your dreams. You can do anything that you want. You can, all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, the message that we really get is you need to just follow in line with all the other adults, and you go to a job that you can't stand for years upon years to get, like a tiny slither of the pie.
Right.
So that, because if you're not doing that, then what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
So, okay, it's getting a little personal.
I'm reeling it back in.
Yes, let's get back to the book.
Because what you said is, until you practice surrender, the spiritual dimension is something you read about, talk about, get excited about, write books about, think about, believe in. Yeah,
it's that same thing of like, follow your dreams.
Yeah.
You can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to it, when we get told that as kids, when we grow up, there's like, get any job that you need to get.
Right.
For what? Like, did you tell me I could do whatever I wanted to do? It comes with a sacrifice for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to come with some kind of, something's going to have to give a little bit.
Yeah, what are you willing to pay?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's kind of what it is. That's pretty much what it is.
And if you're happy with it, go with it.
Right.
Like, if you're at peace with it, I say, more so than happiness. Because as Eckhart has taught us, happiness and peace are totally different things.
Yeah.
But if you are at peace with it, who cares what everybody else is saying? You have to be at peace with that.
They have to find their own peace.
Yeah.
They can't find it through you.
Yes, amen to that.
Yeah.
All right. Back into this book. We don't have we have like 15 minutes left. So let's see what else. There's so much, I guess, in this chapter, but
it took me like a month to read this chapter.
Well, yes. What other section stood out for you, or
I guess
on
220, transferring suffering into peace. So at the bottom of 220, he was talking about pretty much just surrendering to the moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, just once you get there, then everything kind of just like all of the suffering just goes away, because you don't resist the nowness, the what it is. And what he said is, your first chance is to surrender each moment to the reality of that moment, knowing that what is cannot be undone because it already is. You say yes to what is or accept what isn't. Then you do what you have to do, whatever the situation requires. If you abide in this state of acceptance, you create no more negativity, no more suffering, no more unhappiness. You then live in a state of non-resistance, a state of grace and lightness, free of struggle. That part to me took it. I mean, it's one of those things where it is hard to practice that in reality, because when you in the thick of it, it's just different. It's almost like you tell. It's like you. Is one thing to be like a boxing coach and tell them what the boxer should be doing in the ring, versus being the boxer doing everything that you got to do to win in the ring. It's a whole different point of view. It's like, that's kind of how it is when you sit and read this. It's different. You can apply it to everything, because you just make the situation in your head to where you do it perfectly. But then when it happens, it's a whole different. It's like, now you got to apply it but you don't really think about it because you're so deep into the egoic mind that you can't, like,
you're never going to think about it because your mind, if you're on, you know, if you are in a place of suffering and you allow yourself to go into the unconscious and you're in the ego, of course your mind's not going to go to, okay, be present. Like that's the whole thing. It's like, but it's funny because in those moments, that's the time where you need to be in the presence the most.
Yeah.
Because being in the thick of it means you become so unconscious
the fog,
that there is no way to get out but to become present.
Yeah.
And to surrender.
I guess the battery's running out the flashlight.
Yeah. There is no flashlight at that point, you know?
So yeah, it's just kind of, it's a reminder, I say.
Yeah. And I think because with ego comes, you know, the time. So we're so stuck, and that's another thing that I think, I'm just talking in US specifically, but we're so obsessed with time. Gotta be on time for this, gotta do this, gotta, like, you know, like all that. So it's like we get sucked into that, or like the years passing by and whatever. It's like we get sucked into time so much that it's so easy to slip back into getting stuck in the past or the present, or good Lord, the past or the future, or getting stuck in our life situations as if they are like, this is us, forever. Like this is forever, like all that. So it's but in those moments right there, that's when we really need to be the most present. True. So practicing, I think the key, and he had mentioned it before in previous chapters, of like finding presence in everyday moments. When you're washing your hands, take the time to, because we're washing our hands 20 million times a day still, right? Yeah.
Hopefully.
I am. Yeah. My hands are dry as heck.
Ashy now. Yeah. Definitely on the ashy side.
I moisturize them, guys, but whatever. Anyway, that's beside the point. But when you're washing your hands, like focusing on the feeling of the water, focus on the feeling of, like, it's basically becoming more in your body as a way to be present. And it's like just those moments when you're in a conversation with someone.
Right.
Be present in that moment. I feel like with things are just so flashy all the time. We're always like on a computer or phone.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything against computers or phones.
They're designed that way.
Yeah, but they're designed to capture your attention at all times. And so it's like, you know, taking just moments in your day to be present, meditating, whatever, all of that as you continue to practice, that gives you the muscle. It's like working out a muscle. Like the more you work it out, the easier it's going to get. Yeah. And so when you are practicing it in times of, okay, for instance, for boxing, if you want to say, so that analogy, when you're practicing without the pressure of battling somebody. You're not in the ring with anybody. You're just practicing the mechanics. You're getting your body to form memory, all that stuff. So as you're practicing all that, so when you get in the ring with someone, you have to be so present in that ring. Yeah. The moment your mind drifts or something. Right. Bow. You knocked out. So you have to be present then. Yeah. You have to be present in your training too, because you're taking in all that information or whatever. Right. But your body will start memorizing, that punch or that right hook or whatever. So when you're in the ring, you're present in that fight. Your body will start, it'll be easier to be, in that moment and know what to do because you've practiced it. Right. So I think that's the key to that. It's like practicing in the moments when you're in offense. So then when it becomes very hard and you're on the defense, you automatically slip into present. True.
Yeah. Good way of putting it.
Yeah.
All right. This analogy. Yeah.
Well, I fed off your analogy, but yeah. Yeah. So
it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Man, another part that stood out to me, so I'm gonna jump to 225, that middle paragraph there. He says, at this time, as far as the unconscious majority of humans is concerned, the way of the cross is still the only way. So he's talking about God and the cross as an analogy. They will only awaken through further suffering, and enlightenment as a collective phenomenon will be predictably preceded by vast upheavals. This process reflects the workings of certain universal laws that govern the growth of consciousness and thus was foreseen by some seers. It is described among other places in the book of Revelation or Apocalypse, though cloaked in obscure and sometimes impenetrable symbology. This suffering is inflicted not by God, but by humans on themselves and on each other, as well as by certain defensive measures that the earth, which is a living, intelligent organism, is going to take to protect herself from the onslaught of human madness. Okay, what I got, I know that was a lot, but what stood out to me so much was that last part of, I should have just read that last part.
That's what I highlighted.
Yeah, I should have read that last part, but I wanted to give the full context.
Yeah.
But, the suffering that is inflicted is not by God, but by humans on themselves and on each other. And so Logic's new album, which we've heard 1,000 times because of our son, my God. But I love that album too.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm trying to think of the song. But in one of the songs he says, he's talking about God. Like he's talking about all these bad things happen in the world all the time.
Right.
And he says, if you exist, why do you make life so hard? If you exist, the way you think is avant-garde. And I was just like, yo, every time I hear that line, it sticks out to me so much because I'm like, he's questioning if God, if you exist, why are you making life so hard? Why are you making all these things, terrible things happen? Like you really think off, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not God. It is us.
Yeah.
We create this suffering.
Right.
You know, shout out to Logic. Great album. But anyway, so
I mean, it's a very common question. It's very
it is.
It's a common questioning thing about God and belief of God and all of that.
And it's religion. Either that people question, like, if there was really a God, there would really not be all this suffering. Right. There would not be all these bad things happening. Or the opposite, where people were like, when they're like, God exists, all these bad things happen because it's a testimony. It's an opportunity for testimony, and it's like, all of this stuff. Or you can't question God, what God does. Right. And it's just like, again, it's like the madness all comes because the universe itself, it is what it is. Right. Humans come in with our insanity and our ego, and we are the ones destroying our own selves.
Yep.
Because of our insanity.
That's true.
And we were not created to be that way.
Yeah. I don't. It's kind of weird to. In that last statement, we weren't created to be that way. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Well, the ego, I feel like, is here. It has a purpose. And he said, Eckhart has said before, the ego is not a bad thing. He's not labeling ego as a bad thing. Ego is here. Our mind is here as having the human experience. We need it.
Yeah.
It's necessary. It is a part of us.
Do you think the egoic mind, our mind, is the human experience?
Absolutely. That's what makes us human. And I think that's where, this going into that's when we're born sinners, right? I think that's what it's talking about. We're
born into missteps.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Dang. See? Look at that. We at the end, and then I always come up with these questions.
I know.
At the end.
Yeah, but But anyway, that just always stands out to me every time I hear that song. Logic's album, No Pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. I think what would make it even worse is that people like, because I highlighted the last paragraph on 124, and just to kind of 224. I'm sorry.
I was like, huh?
224.
Okay.
So he was saying that I don't call it finding God, because how can you find that which was never lost? The very life that you are. The word God is limiting not only because of thousands of years of misperception and misuse, but also because it implies an entity other than you.
Yes.
God is being itself, not a being.
Right.
That was like, that was a big thing.
And he says later, on 225, where does that start? When he's saying because God too is no thing.
Yeah.
When he breaks it down saying nothing and he says no thing. It's
right.
like God is no thing. Like,
yeah. So I think that's what the issue where the insanity comes from with the questioning of God is that
it's this thing outside.
It's like, something outside of you that's allowing all of this bad stuff to happen versus thinking that it's you creating the bad stuff that's happening.
Because God is within you and God is a creator.
Exactly.
So anything that you're creating inside with your insanity is radiating out and creating your external.
Exactly.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Ooh,
so
think about what y'all are creating.
Yeah.
Like, that is so important.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, that's what I think that is that the human experience is to create?
Absolutely.
Because when you think about what humans have managed to do over the however many years we existed, I don't know.
Oh, well, we need a history lesson up in here.
But the fact that we have been able to create such great things, and such terrible things, it's like our purpose is to. It feels like that's what it is just to create stuff outside of just another human being. Because when you think about it, like all the other animals all the other species or whatnot, they're really, their main objective is just to create a lineage.
Reproduce, right.
Yeah.
And humans, we have evolved past that.
Yeah. We
can leave a legacy without having kids. Like, kids is not the only legacy or that you can leave.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And it can be a good legacy or a bad one.
Right. Or such a neutral one that it's like you weren't even here.
Elaborate.
That's like literally, like if I think everybody has impact on somebody. I don't believe that one's gonna leave with nothing. But it's like when people, like the thought of people leaving here without reaching their potential, right?
Okay.
What could you have done with your life? And this is something that's so real for me, like that I've been like, just thinking about, right?
Is that my question? I know I keep kind of cutting you out. Well, yes. I'm kind of wondering. So you saying that like, okay, some people leave without reaching their full potential. Was that the purpose for someone to pick it up and continue that legacy on?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It's more of like I think everything happens in the universe's timing, period. Yeah. Right? And so I don't want to get into like, people passing before their time and things like that. I think, there there is a timing for everything, and there's a reason for everything and all that stuff, whatever, whether we understand it or not. It's not for us to understand all the time.
Right.
Even though we're always going to seek that. But I think it's more of like, okay, so Oprah had said in one of the inspirational videos that I was watching, where she was saying that she wants to leave this earth having nothing else to give. And she's not the only person who has said this.
Okay.
You know, it's like,
yeah,
she is, of course, when people pass, there's always something there. I feel like there's going to be always something else they could have done, or they had plans to do, or whatever, like that kind of thing. But it's just like, she wants to leave to the point where she is drained out.
Right.
She's done everything that she can do. Yeah. Right. So it's more like that, where it's like, people just kind of like, because of the insanity of the ego and stuff like that, it's very limiting.
It is.
It is very limiting. So if you're a person who is stuck in that your whole entire life, and you have been conditioned to not really pursue things that you want to pursue,
right,
and that you feel a calling for, and instead you're just like, I'm okay, just doing this, but you're really not okay just doing that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I don't want to get too deep into that, because I'm like, I don't want to go into like, well, you're not reaching your potential, nothing like that. I feel like we all have an obligation to fulfill what
we wanted to do.
Yeah, what's been placed on our life. And I feel becoming more aware, that's the key to getting in touch with that, and unleashing the way we've been conditioned growing up is a unlearning and relearning. Mm-hmm. I just think, that is the purpose. And so when you're talking about creating, we can create from different places. Like you're saying, we can create from a quote bad place, because we don't want to put labels, but we're just gonna say that just for the sake of understanding, or a good place, an in-tuned place, an aware place, or from an unconscious place, an egoic place. So we're always creating. I do believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
man,
I guess a good way to end this whole series here
is his last.
It's the last line. Go ahead.
The person asks, "How will I know when I have surrendered?" Eckhart's response is, "When you no longer need to ask the question." I just thought that was so Eckhart of him.
And the mic drops.
And the mic drops. Boom. We are done with our series.
Oh my goodness.
The Power of Now.
The Power of Now.
Yes.
Yes. It was a really good book. It was definitely a nice complimentary. I don't know. No. This book was first, right?
This book was before, The New Earth.
Okay.
Book. Yep.
Because I read this in a different order. I read the New Earth first. Mm-hmm. But even still, this is a really good complimentary. It's like a good reminder book.
They both go hand in hand.
They do.
Honestly.
I think the New Earth is a lot more in depth version of the Power of Now, and it is more on it feels like it's more on a religious side, kind of more. He ties in a lot more religion in the New Earth than this. Yeah,
but let's not get into that.
Yeah.
If you want to read the New Earth, we highly recommend that too. But we are talking about the Power of Now that we just finished. And
yes.
Thank y'all for following with us, for sure. We hope you guys enjoyed this series. We are moving on to a new one.
Yeah.
Should we talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's say it.
All right. Our next book that we are going to be doing is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yep.
It's Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. So we're going to be talking about implementing new habits, how to do that, how to make them stick, and how to create systems versus setting goals.
Yeah. And this is this is really going to be a test, because the way we, even just thinking about how we've been doing the podcast now, like using the ideas and stuff from the book can help with this podcast
like
right now.
Staying on top of it, keeping up with the readings. Yeah.
So I honestly think that this book is right on time, because and on top of that, I think that it makes it really, it's very tangible in relations to actually being able to apply it. It's a lot more tangible than the Power of Now.
Well,
I say the reason I say it's tangible, because it's something you can like plan out on paper. You can look at it. The Power of Now it feels more. It's a very internal thing.
Right. Well, I also think that Atomic Habits is a very internal thing as well, honestly, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
But I think that it goes perfectly after this book, actually.
Yeah, it does.
Because this is more spiritual, and this is more like, I get what you mean, tangible. I just think Atomic Habits is going into more real world. And what I love about it is that it is about because you always hear like you gotta have a routine and like, you know, have your goals written out and have things like that, you know, all of that. But then a lot of times people don't really talk about how exactly do you do it? How do you make a system that you can apply to your own life and your own specific goals? And so this is that book. So we really hope you join us for that, because it's going to be good. We're going to go through, still haven't decided if we're going to go through chapter by chapter. The chapters aren't very long, so we may combine some chapters or something like that.
Yeah, they're not long.
Figure it out.
It's just a lot of them, though.
It is a lot of chapters, but that's why so many, because it's you know, it's broken down a lot. So anyway, that is our next book. We'll be starting that soon. Again, thank you guys for following us and along on this journey of the Power of Now. We really hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yep.
So our business links and everything are in the description.
Yep.
The music you hear.
Yeah, music you hearing. I've made it, and if you are interested in purchasing some music for your own podcast or song or whatever it is, check out tracksinfinite.com/beats. And if you are interested in seeing me actually make beats, I stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Twitch, twitch.tv/tunesamazing. We'll put that in the description as well, and you can check me out there and say what up while I make beats.
Yes, and this is gonna be in the description, but you can find me on Instagram at Kristyn_B_editing. So Kristyn B editing, and then on Facebook, Kristyn B. You can find me there. If I know we are reading a bunch of books, if you have a book that you are writing, you need an editor. You trust me, you need an editor before you put this book out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hit me up. I have my editing business, Krystal Clear Editing LLC. So you can get your book right. If you have bios, if you have articles or blog posts that you need edited as well. I also write bios. So hit me up. You can find me on there. All my information's on there. So yeah. On that note, after we got that plug in, because it's Small Business Saturday coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to let y'all go, because we already over time.
Yeah.
So, All right. Have a good one, y'all.
Peace.
Talk to y'all soon.